Good afternoon, Jamaica. Welcome to Sports Unwrapped. I'm Leighton Levy. We're up at the University of the West Indies and we're talking to Carole Beckford. National embarrassment? Gibson relays might not be held this year. We talk about that with Carole after the break. Welcome back to Sports Unwrapped. As you know, Gibson relays are at risk this year, primarily because there might be no track to hold the meet on. The National Stadium is being refurbished with 2 synthetic tracks that are supposed to be arriving on the island soon. However, bad weather in Europe actually held the tracks back, so they won't be here until late January when the work is to start. Now, Gibson is at the final week of February, which is about 5 weeks from that time. We need 6 weeks to lay the track. Is this a national embarrassment? We are a country who has produced some of the fastest men in the world, and we have the world record in the 4x1 relay for men. However, our biggest relay festival will not be held. Carole Beckford joins me today. Carole, welcome to Sports Unwrapped. Is this a national embarrassment?
Absolutely. I think track and field, for what it has done for this country, ought to be treated better. But I want to put it in context that sport as a sector, as an industry, needs to take proper focus, and I think more care should have been taken. I know from facts that the track should have started preparation in February of 2010, and as a result of that, I think even with an act of God now, because of the snow in Europe and so on, have intervened. I think, you know, we could have done better instead of running around at this point trying to figure out how we're going to host the Gibson relays.
Leaving things at the very last minute, which is not usually the best way to manage sport, and we've seen that indicative of wider spread in Jamaica, where a lot of sports are not managed properly in Jamaica. What is it that goes wrong in how we perceive sports and how we approach the management of sport in Jamaica?
I still think that sport is seen as an event, obviously not as an economic tool or not as a business. The J3 calendar is extremely packed, as it has been for the last 10 years. There is a track meet on every weekend from the first weekend in January right through until June, which means all the other track meets will have to rearrange their schedule. The Gibson Relays is an IAAF certified meet. It allows athletes who participate to submit times in their pool of times coming up to, especially in this year, a World Championship year, so that you're taking away from the athletes' ability to perform at their best. Jamaica has shown weaknesses in relays over the years, and the top relay festival in this region, outside of the Penn Relays in the United States, that risk of it not being held sends certainly a bad signal.
This, as you mentioned, is in part because of an absence of a national policy on sport. What is it that you think is taking so long for us to see one 3 years after this current administration is born? And since the minister has been promising for the last 2 years that we should have one in the near future, but how near in the future we don't know.
I mean, to be fair to this government, successive governments have, in part, not done enough. But the government today has not taken on from where the previous government left off, specifically in sport. And I think that this is going to be critical. I know the draft of the policy is ready. Whether it's consultation or whatever that needs to take place to make it happen, it needs to happen now. The question has been asked, what then is a paper going to do? But rules can be followed. So, you know, are we going to have less events for certain things and so on? I mean, we can have the discussion, and the consultations may bring out issues that the policy can address. So all I'm saying is, you know, we need to get our act together. Next year is our 50th year of political independence. We're going back to London since 1948. We better get our act together. And, you know, if the Gibson Relays is not held, it's going to spiral some, you know, effects on the country that we may not be able to come back from.
I was just about to ask you that, can we recover from such an embarrassment that Gibson is not held?
Well, we recovered from the England tour of the West Indies in Sabina Park, and I'm not hoping that that will happen, but I'm saying every effort should be made to host the Gibson Relays, even on a reduced scale, and maybe sell media rights, because then the logistics of hosting it anywhere else does not make for audience support or spectator support. So I think that we should go at the next best venue. I know the GC Foster track, as you said, it has deteriorated badly, but then we need to find an option. It just should not happen.
Yeah, Major Desmond Brown from IPL Independence Park Limited actually was saying that there are no contingencies should Gibson not be held at a national stadium, which means that it's most likely will be cancelled for this year. This is a major issue that is such a For those fans of track and field, it's a big deal. For those who support sport and understand sport, understand what it means not to have a national policy on sport. For those who don't understand, Carole, tell us why is it so important for us to have a blueprint for us to follow in sport?
Well, first of all, you look at incentives. You look at incentivizing the sport to the extent that equipment and supplies can be had into the country at reduced rates, duty waivers and so on. What it does is also encourages people who are trying to get into the business of sport to get involved, because it sets out a clear guideline. And with the development of sport as a business, there are far more career opportunities involved. And so, I think it's just a disservice to the sector. After 65 years, international progression and performance in major sports, we have done well in at least 10 disciplines across the world. And let me just go further. This sector employs 27,000 people, right? So I am suggesting that if it contributes 2.4% to GDP, and that figure is conservative, it ought to mean something to this country, and I think more should be done.
Well, they just heard it from Carole Beckford herself, sports administrator, and of course you might know her as the publicist for the world's fastest man, Usain Bolt. Carole, thanks very much for being on Sports Unwrapped this week. That's where we wrap it up for this week, folks. After the break, we come back with our closing.
Just it's time to get in the game and win big money and all the sports you love. Football, basketball, or cricket, NFL, or track and field. And more. If you watch it, you can probably bet. And so pick your matches, place your bets, and win some money for real. The more matches you bet, man, the bigger the winnings. It's easy. Get your money and some green bench and sports betting vendors island-wide. Just bet your game, your passion. You must be 18 and over to play.
Welcome back to Sports Unwrapped. That's it for this week, folks. But you can send us your emails at sportsunwrapped@lenajm.com. You can catch my blogs on lenablogs.com. And of course, we're going to send you off now with our sports fact of the week. Jamaica has traditionally been known to be strong in track and field, but especially on the track, where in 1948, we won gold medals at the Olympics in London, at the London Olympics. However, in 1996, we did something we've never done before up to that point. James Beckford, in winning the silver medal at the Atlanta Olympic Games, became the first Jamaican to medal at a field event, the jumps, at the Olympic Games. That's your interesting sports fact for the week. This is Leighton Levy saying goodbye, have a great week, Happy New Year, and be a good sport.